Hey everyone, glad you're here. Today we're talking about something that affects millions of people across the country. Something that can determine whether your grocery bill fits your budget next month, or whether you need to dip into savings to afford your medication. I'm talking about the new Social Security COLA increase for 2026. This isn't just a number or a yearly update. It's something that directly touches the lives of retirees, disabled individuals, and others who rely on fixed monthly benefits. And here's something you might not know. This year's adjustment is shaping up to be one of the smallest in recent years, even though prices are still high for a lot of things we all need. So what's really going on? Why is the increase looking smaller when our bills still feel big? And more importantly, what does that mean for you or your loved ones living on a fixed income? Stick around, because we're going to talk about what's happening, what might happen next, and why it all matters. If you find this kind of information helpful and want to stay in a loop, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel, and I'd love to have you as part of this community. Now, let's explore further. If you've been following Social Security news, or if you depend on it every month, then you probably know that each year the government adjusts benefits based on inflation. This annual increase is called the Cost of Living Adjustment, or COLA. It's meant to make sure your benefits still stretch as prices go up. But here's the tricky part. This adjustment depends heavily on what inflation looks like, and that's been a bit of a roller coaster lately. Right now, early estimates are suggesting that the 2026 COLA will land somewhere between 2.2 and 2.3%. And to put that into perspective, that's actually lower than last year's increase of 2.5% and way lower than what we saw during the high inflation years. Back in 2022, the adjustment was a hefty 5.9%. In 2023, it jumped to 8.7%. Those increases helped seniors manage during a tough period where groceries, rent, and even gas all shot up in price. But recently, inflation has been cooling down, and that's not all bad. It means price increases are slowing, which can bring some relief. But the flip side is that with lower inflation comes a smaller COLA. So while prices might not be rising as fast as they were, they're still high. And if your income doesn't rise along with them, it can feel like you're falling behind. And I get it, a lot of you are probably wondering, how is this increase even calculated? Why does it seem out of touch with what we're actually paying for groceries, or our electric bills, or our meds? Well, the official number comes from something called the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, or CPIW. It's a mouthful, I know, but basically, it's an inflation tracker the government uses to see how much prices are going up across a range of goods and services. The Social Security Administration then looks at the average change in this index during July, August, and September to determine the COLA for the following year. But here's the catch. CPIW is based on spending habits of younger workers, not seniors. That's why so many experts and advocacy groups say it doesn't really reflect the real cost increases that older adults face. Think about it. Seniors are spending more on healthcare, prescription drugs, and housing than they're on things like commuting or apparel. So, if we're using the wrong measure, the adjustments can miss the mark. Also, there's actually another index called CPI-E, the Consumer Price Index for the elderly, that many believe would be more accurate for measuring the actual inflation seniors experience. It focuses more on the categories that older adults rely on, but so far, it hasn't replaced the current system. It's been sitting on the back burner, and while some lawmakers have proposed using it instead, it hasn't gained much traction. And also, even if inflation is slowing, that doesn't mean everything's getting cheaper. It just means prices aren't rising as quickly. For folks on fixed incomes, even a little increase in costs can stretch a budget thin. Speaking of prices, there's something else in the mix this year: tariffs. In April 2025, President Trump introduced a wide range of tariffs on goods imported from over 180 countries. Now, while some of those tariffs were put on hold for a few months, others, like those on Chinese imports, are still active and may even grow. So, what does that have to do with your Social Security check? Well, tariffs can push prices higher, and not just on luxury items. We're talking about everyday things like food, medication, and medical supplies. Things that seniors absolutely rely on. And if those prices start climbing again, it could throw off these early COLA projections. we might see a higher adjustment than 2.3%, but that would only come after months of feeling that pinch at the checkout line or the pharmacy. And another thing to consider is how this all impacts health-related costs. There's concern from advocacy groups that tariffs could hit up to 400 different types of prescription drugs, especially those that come from places like Canada, India, and Mexico. If that happens, some of the most vulnerable people, those who already have to budget carefully just to get by, might be stuck with even higher medical bills. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, okay, if prices go up, won't that mean a bigger COLA? Technically, yes, but there's a delay. COLA is calculated based on past inflation data, not future projections. So you might feel the impact of those price increases well before you see any boost in your Social Security benefits. Just pausing for a moment to share something important with you. We've partnered with Chapter, a service we feel confident recommending for clear, honest Medicare help. They'll connect you with a licensed advisor, compare every Medicare plan in your area, and help you save money. Most people save around $1,100 a year. It's free, and their care advocate team is there to support you even after you're signed up. Call 615-639-1937 or visit askchapter.org/money using the link in the comments below. Let's keep going. Some experts are calling for targeted policy fixes. Maybe exemptions from tariffs for critical items like medications or essential food. Because honestly, this isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. This is about people, real people. People who shouldn't have to choose between groceries and prescriptions. What's more, there's frustration building around how COLA is communicated. If you've been following along for the past few years, you've seen wild swings in the adjustment from nearly 9% to just over 2%. That kind of volatility makes it hard to plan, especially when you're on a fixed income and every dollar counts. And next, let's talk about how these predictions are being made. The Senior Citizens League, or TSCL, is one of the main groups keeping an eye on all this. They've got a model that looks at the CPIW, interest rates, and unemployment to predict future COLAs. It's been updated to account for more up-to-date data, and they adjust it monthly. Still, even their model can't fully predict what Washington will do next. So then, where does that leave you? If you're relying on Social Security, it's more important than ever to stay informed. A smaller COLA might not sound like a big deal on the surface, but for many people, that little difference could mean skipping a meal, holding off on refilling a prescription, or canceling a service you used to enjoy. That's why it's worth paying attention to the months ahead. July through September inflation data will finalize the 2026 COLA. So if something dramatic happens, like a sharp rise in prices due to tariffs, that might change the outcome. But until then, the best thing you can do is plan with caution, try to stretch your budget where you can, and speak up when something doesn't seem right. And I want to hear from you. Have you felt that your Social Security check just isn't going as far as it used to? Are there things you've had to cut back on because of rising prices? Share your experiences in the comments, because your story might help someone else feel less alone. And before we go, remember this. Social Security isn't just a policy. It's a promise. It's meant to support the people who've worked their whole lives, raised families, paid taxes, and contributed to our society in countless ways. We owe it to our seniors to get this right, not just once a year, but every day, with thoughtful policies that reflect the reality of what it costs to live in this country. If you found this helpful, don't forget to hit like and share this with someone who could use the info. We've got more updates coming, and I'll be right here with you every step of the way. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.